You can't support free speech while slapping a reporter in the hallway, Congresswoman Crockett. That moment wasn't planned. It was caught by a hot mic during chaos. But it showed everything. Because it wasn't just another political argument. This was a raw, unscripted moment in a dark hallway near the press area in the Capitol. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a well-known Democrat from Texas, lashed out, not at a fellow lawmaker or protester, but at a journalist who dared ask her a question. She was asked about her language in a hearing last week, with some calling it unprofessional. What happened next was shocking. In less than 7 seconds, you could see her anger, the slap, the silence, and the reporter falling to the floor. Crockett stormed off, and someone off camera asked, "Did she just slap him?" By the time the video was shared online, opinions were divided. Some said it was assault, while others called it a smear. One MSNBC anchor even called it a reflex due to fatigue. The timing was curious. NPR and PBS had been under fire before this, with leaks showing they had been altering reports. These were stories about border policy, classified information, and the George Floyd case. Some started calling them Democrat supporters disguised as public broadcasters. A proposal came to cut public broadcasting funds, and an ethics complaint was filed by the journalist who was slapped. The reporter said they didn't want to take this step, but felt forced after being hit and seeing Crockett walk around like the victim. In response, Congress staged a hearing about free speech and the role of media in democracy. On one side, Crockett defended herself, saying attacks on NPR and PBS were like attacks on democracy. On the other side, Tom Homan, former ICE director, came ready to stick to facts and challenge Crockett's narrative. The hearing turned into a spectacle with high stakes. This wasn't just about media bias, but about free speech and standing up to authority. Behind the scenes, Crockett was getting advice on how to handle the media storm. She decided to lean into the anger and position herself as a victim, standing up for women who've been labeled as aggressive for speaking up. Meanwhile, Haman, who had once stirred strong reactions from both sides, saw the video and decided to challenge Crockett. He was done with silence and was ready to call out the circus. The media called it the debate of the year, but it was more than that. It was a moment of truth. In the congressional hearing room, the stage was set for a battle between two very different worlds, one where theatrics ruled and the other where facts and experience took center stage. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett walked into the room like she was stepping onto a Netflix special, surrounded by advisors who looked more like image consultants than policy experts. She smiled, trying to show confidence, but her eyes told a different story. She knew she was under scrutiny. On the other side, Tom Homan, former ICE director, walked in alone, calm and unimpressed by the drama around him. The chairwoman started the hearing, saying they were here to discuss the role of public media and free speech, not personal conduct. But Congresswoman Crockett was ready. She took the microphone and started her statement, saying the reporter she slapped was not a journalist, but a partisan disruptor with ties to extremist groups. She claimed she was being attacked as part of a larger smear campaign against her and public media. She went on to say that public media like NPR and PBS were the only outlets brave enough to report on issues like racism and inequality. This wasn't about a slap in a hallway. It was about controlling who gets to speak and who gets silenced. Some in the audience applauded. Tom Homan responded calmly, saying, "So we're starting with fiction," pointing out that Crockett's statements were based on a distorted view of facts. Crockett, not backing down, responded passionately, defending public media and reminding everyone that during crises, it was NPR that helped deliver critical information, while some other networks spread lies. She also mentioned the death of George Floyd and how the media on the right stayed silent about it. Tom Homan, still calm, disagreed, saying the systems that sent out emergency alerts weren't political. He also pointed out that some of the health information from minority clinics during COVID-19 was politically biased. Crockett quickly shifted focus, pointing out that no ethics complaints were filed when the president mocked a disabled reporter on national TV. The room buzzed, and social media lit up with praise for Crockett. But the chairwoman reminded everyone that this was a hearing, not a rally, and the debate had to stay respectful. Jasmine Crockett came in ready to fight, while Tom Homan sat calmly, like someone watching a machine overheat. He wasn't interested in drama, just in getting to the facts. He raised his hand, asking for a moment to clarify some things. He started by questioning if the press was truly free when it served one side's ideology and attacked anyone who disagreed. He didn't want to focus on the hallway incident, but he had security footage that showed a journalist on the ground, with Crockett walking away like nothing happened. He asked for the full context, challenging her to explain the situation. Crockett didn't back down, but she was clearly frustrated. She shifted focus, pointing out Tom's past, including accusations of racial profiling. She also brought up issues with Donald Trump's behavior, asking why no one filed complaints when he mocked a disabled reporter or promoted harmful ideas. Tom calmly pointed out that she was using a government report from the Trump era to back up her argument after, criticizing the same government. He didn't need to raise his voice. He let her words speak for themselves. The chairwoman reminded everyone to stay on topic, and a staffer slipped a note to Crockett, advising her to stop referencing Trump so much. Tom sat quietly, knowing that letting the chaos unfold would eventually weaken her position. After a tense moment, Tom submitted 3 items for the committee's review. First, he read from the First Amendment, reminding everyone that freedom of speech and the press apply to all, not just to the ones we agree with. Second, he presented an ethics complaint against Crockett for intimidating and physically confronting a reporter. Third, he played a clip from Crockett's own account, showing her making a statement against Fox News. He asked if speech was only protected when it agreed with her. Tom finished by saying that freedom of speech shouldn't be twisted to only protect one side. The room fell silent as his words hit home. Just as Crockett seemed ready to respond, a voice from her own side, Ilhan Omar, called for a break. The hearing was suspended, and the cameras caught Jasmine sitting stiffly, the energy gone from her. Reporters rushed to interview Tom, and the internet quickly shifted focus from Crockett to him. After the hearing, things quickly turned against Jasmine Crockett. Within 24 hours, the House Ethics Committee launched an official inquiry into the incident with the journalist, and a subpoena was issued for Crockett's testimony. This was a huge blow to her, but it didn't end there. Leaked footage from her internal meetings surfaced online. In one, she was seen practicing her "I was ambushed" line in front of a mirror. In another, her team discussed controlling the optics of the situation, using phrases like victim architecture, a strategy that didn't look good. Meanwhile, in the same hearing, the chairwoman issued a closing statement that suggested freezing public funding for media institutions until they could prove their transparency. The hearing, which started as a defense of free speech, ended with a political win for conservatives, backed up by hard evidence. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet and firm. Tom Homan didn't celebrate. He didn't seek applause. After the hearing, a reporter caught up with him, the same reporter who had been involved in the hallway incident. Homan simply shook the reporter's hand and said he was doing what he believed was right. No fanfare, just a quiet acknowledgement of doing the job. The backlash against Crockett was swift. The hashtag #YourSisterEarl meltdown trended as people shared videos showing the contrast between her calm pre-hearing interviews and her fiery outbursts during the hearing. Media outlets, which once supported her, started to pull back. Major civil rights organizations that had once backed her distanced themselves, and even her own party began questioning her approach. The following day, inside the Democratic caucus, tension was high. One senior member told her that she had dragged the media into a fight they couldn't defend and lost. Her messaging advisor, who had helped shape her political image, resigned, citing a difference in strategy. Even leadership told her that if she wanted a future in politics, she needed to stop speaking like a live streamer and start speaking like a legislator. Later, in a quiet office, Crockett watched the footage of her own hearing, her bold words now sounding brittle in the silence. She paused the video, removed her congressional pin, and placed it on the desk. The weight of it all hit her in that moment. Outside, the Capitol stood unchanged, unmoved, while she sat in silence for the first time, with nothing left to prove. In the days that followed, Tom Homan turned down dozens of interview requests. Producers offered him primetime slots, but he declined them all. He didn't need to speak anymore. He had already made his point. Then, in a private meeting with senior Republican leaders, they asked if he would consider advising the party's communications strategy in the future. Tom didn't respond verbally. He simply nodded once, his silence speaking volumes. In a world filled with political noise, Tom Homan made his impact through restraint. No dramatic speeches, no theatrics. His calm logic did the work, and his silence became the final statement. The story ended not with chaos, but with a contrast between two approaches to politics. One frantic and falling apart, the other steady, unbothered, and ready to endure. In the last moments, a young reporter asked Tom what he thought the hearing meant for America's future. Tom responded, not into a microphone, but quietly, almost to himself. Politics may be where rage lives, but reason is what leaves a mark. Then he walked away,